Hey guys! Sorry it took me so long to get back to the next review. I've been in rehearsals for a show and it's been taking up an awful lot of my spare time. Speaking of which, I hope you can come see my show, which starts next weekend. Shameless plug-in. But anyway, before we get to the main review, I've seen a couple of other movies that I wanted to mention but didn't get around to making a review for. So, real quick, here are two quick reviews. Fathers and Daughters. Do not pay attention to that undeserved splat on Rotten Tomatoes. This is a very, very nice movie. It's well directed, well acted, well written, very well photographed by Shane Hurlbut.
Am I gonna walk around and rip your lights down in the middle of a scene? Then why the are you walking right through? Da-da-da-da like this in the background. What the is it with you?
Yes, that's Shane Hurlbut, and is a really good example of the phrase, they don't make him like that anymore. The Shallows. In a summer loaded with unwanted, unnecessary, and quite frankly uninteresting blockbusters, this one stands out. It has a great basic setup, genuine thrills, pretty good special effects, a surprisingly good performance from Blake Lively of all people, and is a great living example of the phrase, good rainy day thriller. Now, on to the main review, as this movie is a pretty good example of the phrase, what the hell did I just watch? You know what kind of movies that are really hard to talk about? Movies that you don't really get, but that you really want to get. Every once in a while a movie comes out that is so surreal and so unusual that you can't help but constantly ponder it. No matter how crazy or how pretentious it is, there's usually something about it that makes you want to understand it more. It's very easy to classify movies like these as bad movies simply because we don't get them. And what really annoys me are the people who think they know more than you do and are constantly saying, oh, you just don't get it. Oh, believe me, I get it. And it's because I get it that I don't like it as much as you do. I get what these movies are trying to accomplish, but they lose points for not having much of a point or for a very, 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 very ill-advised execution. But with Swiss Army Man, I don't really know how to classify it. It's not bad, but it's not great. It's not stupid, but it doesn't seem to be completely intelligent. And weirdest of all, it has a point, but it can't seem to decide which point it wants to get across the most. I'm not sure if this movie is secretly a masterpiece because it's making me think about it a lot more than I thought I would, but whatever the case is, I really wish I understood it more. The main story follows a young man lost in the wilderness when a body washes up on shore. Out of delusional starvation and utter loneliness, he decides to treat the body as if he was alive. And sure enough,
I need you to help me get home. Okay, buddy?
Okay, buddy.
he sort of becomes alive. And he also discovers that the dead body has a series of unusual uses and talents. And a personality, albeit the personality of a child, but a personality nonetheless. Now the thing is, without really spoiling too much about what happens in the movie, it seems to want to explore a main theme of the human condition through loneliness and isolation and the reasons we deny our own happiness and things like homosexuality and relationships and love and all the essential stuff. And for the first 2/3 of the movie, it seems to explore that pretty well, minus a couple of fart jokes that were funny at first, but then just got old. But then in the last third of the movie, it goes in a certain direction that felt like the writers wanted to do something different other than what we may have expected from a movie with a premise like this, but they couldn't really figure out what they wanted to do in order to make it as different or as interesting as it could have been. Basically, the movie gave the impression that twist A was going to happen, so you keep expecting twist B to happen, but all of a sudden they come up with twist C, which isn't as good a twist as you might have expected it. However, despite this massive amount of brain activity that this movie has caused me to have in terms of whether or not it's any good, what I can say about it is that at the very least, it is a very well acted film. Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe have very good on-screen chemistry, and they both carry the movie pretty well for the most part. While I'm not going to call their performances Oscar-worthy, I'm definitely going to call them well done. And it was certainly helpful in sitting through most of the movie. I know I keep going back and forth in terms of do I like it or do I hate it, and that's because I honestly don't know. I just don't know if I like this movie or not. I can't tell if it's really any good or not, and I can't tell if it explores its themes well or not, because it's hard to get a grip on what this movie really is. So I guess the best recommendation I can give is try seeing it for yourself, and if it strikes you in a certain way, please let me know. I'm very interested to hear what you think about it. Also, I will highly recommend that you wait for this to come out on video, as I do agree with some people that it is most definitely not really worth the theater admission price. It is worth seeing just so you can have the experience and come up with your own interpretation of it, but you really want to watch this movie with a pause button. At the very least, this movie tries to be different, and I can't help but give it points for that. Whether or not it completely succeeds at being different is a completely different story, but again, that is entirely up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am The Norm. Thank you all for watching.